Hey, it's amazing seeing you here. I've got a special guest joining me today who's recently graduated from our flagship course, LMA. And he'll be sharing with us in terms of overall his experience and what he was able to get from the journey. So it's a pleasure to see you. Let's start with the first question. What's your name? Where are you currently based and what are you currently up to?
It's a pleasure to be here, Tim. My name is Michael Hobbs, and I live in a town just near Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm a police officer, and I had some issues, and that's what brought me to LMA.
So let's start just rewinding time right now, Michael. In terms of if you were to just share with us like a glimpse, what was happening before you had come across LMA? What was going on in your life that was causing you issues, and how is that showing up in your life?
Okay. Well, approximately 12 years ago, while working, I was involved in a motor vehicle collision. Um, as a result of that, I had sustained a brain injury and several physical injuries. Um, I spent initially about 17 months off. I spent countless hours at rehabilitation facilities and therapies and seeing doctors and so forth. And unfortunately, as a result of that, some of those injuries and such couldn't be fixed, or doctors were a little tentative to fix. So I still struggle with that. However, one of the big issues that was sort of left behind was my mental state.
Mm.
And even though I was able to somewhat return to somewhat of a normal life, albeit on restrictive duties, and there's still lots of things I can't do physically in life that I wish I could do. Um, but the mental part of it was the real issue that was being neglected. And so for the past 12 years, I've been just trying to battle with that, the mental battle, with a lot of negativity and a lot of darkness. And excuse me, I had been seeing many a doctor and therapist and psychologist and psychiatric doctor, and unfortunately, I've had more than a few of those people say to me, Michael, there's nothing more we can do for you.
Mm.
So after so many kicks and punches and just not being able to see any sort of light or direction or help, feeling abandoned, um, even though I have a family and three lovely children, it was the most alone I've ever felt in my life and have been. And so yes, it was just, it had drawn me into a lot of bad habits, bad choices. It's been affecting my marriage a great deal, my relationship with my children was becoming more fractious, um, and not the loving one it should be. And other relationships outside of the home have basically deteriorated where I don't really have any. So, as I was saying, being in my bad habits, I was up late one night watching YouTube videos, wasting time like many of us do. And I happened to come across the young gentleman that I'm speaking to right now in a just a quick video that grabbed my attention. And I had seen, I don't know, countless videos before and advertisements and such. But the difference in this one, although I was still skeptical going into it, um, there just felt more of there was a sincerity in Tim that kind of drew me in, and that's what led me to signing up for the Q&A session, the live Q&A session,
Mm.
um, for which I then was able to attend that.
So you was essentially up that evening on YouTube and you came across us for the first time and you're saying you attended that free introductory seminar essentially with a Q&A. So when you was offered the chance, Michael, to join LMA, considering the fact that you've gone through a lot in terms of trying to resolve different issues in your life. Um, what would you say was like the biggest resistance or fears you had to making that decision of wanting to join LMA, and what ended up putting that fear to rest for you?
I guess the fears would be what most people would have, that they were wasting their time. It was a waste of money. As I mentioned, I've done countless types of therapies and other types of research and reading, and I just couldn't find anything that was helping me at all.
Mm,
And I got to such a dark place. And even as I said, going into the Q&A, the live Q&A event, I was still very skeptical,
mm,
sitting there. But as it progressed, and I started to look at some of the questions you were asking, and some of the ideals you were putting across, and really simplistic thought processes towards complicated matters that we all tend to make more complicated.
mm,
So to be able to sit there and listen to someone strip down the garbage and get that out of there, and kind of and make people look at what the actual issues are, why you feel certain ways, what's causing why are you really this way, and that was a real benefit to actually start asking the questions of myself rather than me asking doctors, therapists, and so on to give me answers that they never had.
mm. So you was working with a lot of professionals, doctors, therapists, and you were saying some of them were saying they couldn't do anything more than what they've done so far. And you experienced that for over a decade, you're saying, in terms of trying to
Yes.
resolve this. Anyone in their right mind, after continuous amount of rejections, begin to lose hope. What made you want to continue in terms of looking for solutions and continue trying to resolve this problem?
uh, Most blank answer I can give you is my children. I realized that uh, if I wanted to have strong-minded, healthy children turn into adults, as an adult myself, I needed to turn into the strong-minded, confident person that I know that I am underneath, that I had to dig out. So for them to be a reflection of me, I really, and as I was saying, excuse me, those relationships become quite fractured,
Mm,
and I was starting to see the negative behaviors that I was displaying coming from my children, and they began to mimic things that I was doing.
mm,
And when you start to see some of the things that you don't like that you're doing, and then your child's doing it, it's a very scary moment. It's a very powerful moment, in putting the mirror back onto myself, and saying, you know, these relationships are fractured because of of me,
mm,
and my children's behavior is a reflection of me. And um, obviously, I realized then and there that I couldn't continue to go on the way I was, because I was going to end up having children with that are depressed, and not seeing the light, and not um, not putting an effort just into every day. When you start to get into that darkness, and you start to not care about anything, your habits are awful, you're not doing anything, and then the people in your house are seeing that, how can you expect them to be any different?
right.
And I don't want them like that, and I didn't want me like that. That was the main kind of slap in the face to me, that you're not going to get help if you just keep going to search for it. You have to take the help that's available, and help yourself.
Mm. So you begin to see the patterns of behavior some of them amongst your children, and you really wanted to start leading by example. And so that way you can truly change your life as well as your loved one's life, essentially.
And I would like to think that, you know, my parents didn't have a lot of money, they didn't have a lot of things, but
Mm,
my parents weren't miserable, and they made sure that they were never negative towards me because of the outer world.
mm.
And unfortunately, I haven't taken that on. I have been letting the outer world affect my inner world, and unfortunately, that's played out onto my close world around me.
Okay. So I've worked with police officers before, having held a contract speaking directly just in front of police officers, looking to inspire them and so forth. And one of the patterns I did notice, which is healthy to a certain extent, is a healthy amount of skepticism, just naturally because of the individuals they deal with every single day. So I'm sure when you joined LMA, initially you took that leap. I'm sure you had still some dose of skepticism. Is this really going to work and so forth? What made you, after you made that decision, actually continue on the journey? Because you did make it to the end. So you stayed with us 6 weeks, right? Which is pretty
And
long.
I'm still working on it. It's
Yeah.
a work in progress every day. Absolutely.
So what made you continue? What put that skepticism aside and made you say, might as well try it properly?
Well, I had to ask myself, what do you have to lose? Um, it wasn't as if I was losing exciting moments out of my life because the LMA was going to take that time away from me. Um,
Mm,
there was no reason for me to not stick with it. And then initially, just getting involved in the first week, um, again, the way that the lessons are presented, maybe that's just a way that works for me very well. It's direct. It's it asks straight questions, and it forces you to commit. And you don't have to commit. You can just sign up and go through it and sit there and not do anything. But you're not going to help yourself. You're just going to get a fancy piece of paper at the end. But if you actually commit to it and you sit down and you answer the questions that are asked of you and you do the exercises that are asked of you and you actually take the time and not just the maybe 4 minutes you have to do an exercise. When you're done that, you don't just throw it away, right? You go back to it. If you didn't finish it, if you don't like it, go back, do it, sit down. You have to you have to give yourself the time to be able to absorb it and really think about it in your head, and then be able to clearly identify what you want to say, and what your real answer is, and cut through the bullshit and understand you're only going to get out of it what you put into it, which is really anything in life.
okay. By which module or week of LMA did you start to believe in the course? Because one of the interesting things is with anyone, including me, if I join a new course, there is that level of, is it going to work or is this any good? And you've got that voice normally following you around until eventually something clicks in. When did it click in for you, and what ends up happening for you to believe in it and say, yeah, I'm all in?
Well, I would say the first couple weeks were hard for me, and I would assume that they would be hard for anybody because those are the hardest 2 weeks as far as looking at yourself, um, really stripping away what's what is garbage to you and what really means anything to you. So those weeks were really difficult. I know it's a 6 week course. I did take longer for weeks 1 and 2. I'm still working on weeks 1 and 2. Week 2 still the one that's would it's still giving me the problem, right? That I'm still dealing with. So the initial start is very difficult as far as being able to accept being honest
Mm.
and with yourself. We all like to tell ourselves all these nice things about ourselves, but sometimes you got to say the bad things about yourself. And to be able to say them, write them on paper, write them down, um, almost go through it like a math equation,
Mm.
um, but a simple math equation, and you just keep at it. And the 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 fact that there is a support group there for you, there was partnerships available, um, and again, it's what you put into it. So if you want to just get through it and get the paper, that's great, but you're going to be much more better off if you start at week one, putting your energy and time into it. And I just found as I it's not like you're spending hours and hours a day poring over material. As I said, it's very straightforward, um, and you just have to give yourself the time, make the time, however you have to.
Mm.
And it doesn't take a lot of time, but if you stick with it every day and you continue to go through the process and use the material that's available to you and the extra material and the affirmations and the journal and so forth. There's all these resources that you can consistently use throughout your day, um, as opposed to just sitting down for 3 hours and staring at material. Um, you can do it bit by bit every single day. And if you just make the decision that, yeah, I'm going to make the time to do that every day, no matter what, and you keep doing it, I just found myself doing it more, um, and wanting to make sure that, oh, my time's coming up for that. That's what I'm doing. And it's just a focus. It's a drive. It's a fire that hopefully will ignite in everybody that takes the course. Um, there was something there in the first week, just the positivity, the realization that I wasn't alone, and not that I was, hanging out with people, but there was a support there, and there was the no nonsense approach to it,
Mm.
something that I like. And again, maybe that's from the policing background, right?
Right.
That's what you want as a police officer, right? You want the answers. You want simple, right? Simple questions, simple things. You don't want to deal with the fluff, and you want, when you focus on it, you want to tackle that problem. So I just found that the more I made the time and put the structure in my life of a schedule and 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 setting up things for success for me to be able to do those things without distractions, without any sort of um, negativity around, and just focus on on yourself, because that's what you're doing. It's
Mm.
really about peeling away. I know it's a silly analogy, but the onion analogy of peeling away all the layers, right? And it's just, again, it's what you put in it, you'll
Mm.
get out of it.
So I'm sure somebody watching this right now might be wondering, you said over a decade trying to work with different professionals, which I believe is very important, but you're saying there's a lot of things that essentially you was being given almost the cold shoulder to a certain extent. Was this the first time you're ever going through like a course on your own, or have you been through a personal development, personal growth course prior to LMA?
I've always been tasked with different things as far as doctors and such, but no, this was the first actual course that I sat down
Okay.
and took the time to delve into, because, to be honest with you, it was the first course that interests me,
Mm.
or that caught my, as I said, there was a sincerity in it from the start, and I found that continued through, just in speaking with the people that I still speak to a bit. Um, there's always a support system there for you. Um,
Okay. So I'm sure somebody watching this might be wondering right now, what is actually different from you worked with a lot of professionals. What makes going through something like LMA different from doing what you was doing in the past?
I would say it's the focus is on me. It's not about textbooks or what doctors think they know or what they think will help you. or where they think you fit into the spectrum. Um, it's a completely different experience for me. Um, it's more focused on me. I can have the moments that are required during this course, the moments of tears, uh, the moments where you have to, again, if you want to get through this, you have to bear your soul, so to speak, and really put it on the line to yourself. And you're the only one that can do that. Another doctor, another person can suggest certain things, but this actually forced me to sit down and ask myself questions that I had never really asked myself, or tried to figure out reasons for things that I'd never tried to figure out before. And I wish I'd found it a long time ago, because I could have wasted a lot of time on a lot of things that people with good intentions thought would help,
Mm.
um, but they didn't. And it, you know, funnily enough, for me to start to turn my life around and change, it was again something I came across, stumbled across late one night. So you never know.
Okay. Well, Michael, like I said on the final week of LMA, just a new beginning for us, right? It's not the end of this journey, by no means. So it's been a pleasure going through this journey. We've still got the journey upcoming.
Okay.
If you was to give just one final piece of advice for somebody who's thinking of embarking on this journey for the first time on board LMA, having gone through it yourself, what advice would you give if you was to just leave everybody with just one final message?
So take the chance. Take the chance on yourself. This program is there to help you. If you put the effort and time into it, and you put in my favorite word of the whole thing, focus, I can't guarantee that it's going to change everybody's life and help everybody, but I can guarantee you that you're going to have a better understanding of yourself and what actually is important to you, what means something to you. And you're going to find, hopefully, that fire, that desire, that passion, um, that's been rekindled in me. I wish that for everyone else, because uh, we only get one chance at this life, and you want to have your fire burning as bright as you can for as long as you can.